But I'm going to jump in this tomorrow, right there. How white folks got so rich. The untold story of American white supremacy. I mean, I just read about the Indian land grab, and I'm like, my gosh, man, good Lord. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth, because that means we've got to look people in the face and say our forefathers were the worst people in the history of mankind. The things that they did, that manifest destiny, that kind of mentality has been atrocious. What we have done to the African Americans, the estimated number of wealth that came from slavery, from free labor, and that's what it was. And they estimate that the amount of money that came from slavery was around $24 trillion. You can't even grasp that much money. The average person has a hard time grasping what $1 billion is. $1 trillion. Holy shit. And a lot of people don't want to admit the truth, because a lot of people also are scared that what happens if we actually do have to maybe pay reparations. Understand that everything, that beautiful capital in Washington, D.C. was built by slave labor. The majority of the churches in this country were built by slave labor. Our forefathers were lazy. And if they were smart, which they were, but the problem was they were cunning and sad. The greatest land giveaway to the whites. Once Europe discovered the New World and violently subdued, forcibly removed, and outright murdered the Indians, a system had to be set up to induce white people to populate and work the new land. The real truth is that European immigration had nothing to do with seeking religious liberty. It had to do with the headright system, which gave large tracts of land to anyone willing to cross the Atlantic Ocean to help settle the colonies. On average, a person would be given 50 to 100 acres of land. White landowners would get another 50 acres for each enslaved man, which increased the want for slaves while enriching whites with free land and free labor. Now listen up. The white folks that got the land could sell, lease, subdivide, and bequeath the land to their next generation. Remember when I spoke about the landowners getting additional land for slaves? In 2017, it was decided that blacks have a perfect right, even a responsibility, to claim that land and its current value. For instance, the value of the land in Virginia today is worth $21,921 per acre. Today, 50 acres is worth $1,096,050. This means that if the forcibly imported Africans were to receive their head rights like the white Europeans did, the 625 million acres of land today would be worth $13.7 trillion. A recent study estimates that the combined value of all of the land in the contiguous United States is worth $23 trillion. This means that blacks would now own more than half of America if we use the same systems that the whites used. In addition to the land, the descendants of those black Africans are owed the fair market value of all the commodities, tobacco, sugar, cotton, lumber, corn, etc., that their labor produced every year that only enriched the whites. That value is estimated to be as much as $24 trillion. Let's also remember how slaves built our roads, bridges, railroads, barges, wagons, tool manufacturers, ports, etc. Should have came with the promise of 40 acres and a mule, but never did. The blacks' generated assets cannot even be measured, but it did from the economic foundation for our current world dominance. It formed our economic foundation for our current world dominance. If we ever want to provide a measure of justice, we would return the land to the Native Americans, but don't hold your breath. Part of the critical race theory is crushing conversations like these from ever happening. Even though we know our government will never do the right things concerning the past, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't know the truth.